Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video that we're going to be putting out. This is going to be the first video of a series. These are more educational videos to help you understand a little bit more about the industry, how to get into it as an independent, some of the things that I did that was wrong that I've learned from that I can then pass on to you so that you have a much more stable start when you get into all of this, or perhaps I can just take out some of the fears. And so this first video is going to be about conventions, how to go to them, how to approach them, how to get the most out of them, especially if it's your very first one that you're going to use for professional reasons. They're very different from when you attend as a guest, so I'm hoping some of these ideas and concepts are useful to you as you start approaching these, as you begin to go on your journey for the development of your game or your dreams. For context, I'm going to be basing this on the experience from the UK Games Expo that I was at a couple of weeks ago. So let's quickly talk about my experience at the UK Games Expo. I basically had a bunch of meetings set up. They were scheduled and I had a few impromptu ones. They're always valuable and you want to make sure that you are booking them both. So for some of the things like manufacturers, you're going to want to get into their Calendly links. You're going to want to set up and make sure that you've got an agreed time. For some of the smaller publishers, it's probably you can walk up onto their stand and have a conversation, but you shouldn't expect too much if you're just going up and taking a cold call. It's a little bit tricky because at the end of the day, those are people and they're there to work the whole weekend and they can't necessarily devote a bunch of time to you, especially if that's first contact. So keep that in mind. You want to have a good mix of scheduled meetings or various talks and stuff that you want to go to, and then you want to have a little bit of free time to go explore the convention, look at the stands, actually go up and talk to people. The Panda networking event was a really interesting experience. So, for those that don't know, Panda Manufacturing is a huge manufacturer based in China, really, really great for tabletop games. Lovely people, absolutely, really enjoy every conversation I have with them. And they run an event on the evening of the Friday at the UK Games Expo for publishers and designers. It's supposed to be sort of like a meet and greet where you can go and meet potential publishers, or if you're a publisher, you can meet all the designers that are looking to get started with their first project, or maybe they're more of an experienced one and you're looking for a collaboration. What was really interesting is when we got into the room of the networking event, there was probably about 95% of the attendees were designers and about 5% of them were publishers. And if you think about it, that's probably what it's kind of like in real life, where you are a lot of designers and hopefuls are looking to get their first foot on the ladder by just going up to the limited number of publishers who have the resources in order to make their game a reality. It was kind of a little bit difficult. It was great to go up and talk to lots of other designers and stuff. And everybody sort of gets to pitch their game, and you get to sort of know a little bit more about the community. You might run into a situation where you think that talking to other designers is not useful, but I want to flip that on its head and say that there's a lot of the experienced designers can probably save you a whole bunch of money by just having a conversation with them. Ask them a few questions about their experience, like their crowdfunding, how their marketing worked. Just get used to talking to them. Like these people that have been successful, they want to do nothing more than tell everybody exactly how they did it. They're proud. It's an achievement to go from concept to delivery, especially if you've gone through like crowdfunding, so you've used Kickstarter or GameFound. Like, talk to these people, ask for their feedback, ask for like what worked, what didn't work, what would they do differently. Like, you use that information. Don't just be the person that goes up and looks for the publishers and then immediately goes straight into a pitch. That is not a really interesting place for the publisher to be in. You've got to understand, again, they are people. If I think about back in my days when I was at events and people wanted to come up and talk to me, obviously you want to give them all the time and be polite as possible. But for the attendees of the event, that is an exciting experience that is going to be very relaxing, very fun, very stimulating. If you are a publisher or somebody who's working a stand or an exhibition, you've got a bunch of meetings lined up, you are effectively going to be spending the whole weekend that your company has assigned you to. When you get back to the office on Monday, you're going to be filling out paperwork, you're going to be filling out the expense report so that you can get your money back for the event. So it's to you, it's not the same thing. And a lot of the people from the publishing, when I think about it, it's like, would you really want to be at a network event where 95% of the people in that room are just trying to get your attention and say, I have this great idea, I just need money? And my first thought was, no, I probably wouldn't want to be in that environment. And that's something that's very powerful. And I'll talk a little bit later in this video about how to approach networking so that it's mutually beneficial and not just one-sided, can I has coin clicks. For the general feel of the show, it was buzzing with energy. It's also quite easy to get overwhelmed. So definitely have a plan. If you can just set up an Excel sheet or use your Google Calendars to give yourself all the planning and locations of where your talks are, where your meetings are. Uh, Events like UK Games Expo, they have a very in-depth floor plan, so you can actually just go ahead and look up where all of the people you need to meet are. Write it down. Don't just have a meeting saying meeting with Boda Manufacturing at 2 p.m. Write where they are so that you can actually find them and learn how to use the various signs around the room in order to locate the people you're looking for. And don't show up late. Show up on time, especially if you scheduled a meeting. Like I said, these people, they have a lot going on that weekend. You are not the number one priority in that person's individual life, while the company might be very happy for your business. Try to be respectful of other people's times and make sure you've figured out exactly where you need to be and when as early as possible. Throughout the weekend, I want to be a bit honest with it, as I did kind of hit a moment of crisis. So as I was walking around and I saw all these like incredible stands of people that have been successful, they've already got their game out there. Um, I started thinking back about the problems that we had when we launched our Kickstarter campaign and the things that I'm going to be doing a lot better when we relaunch a little bit later. But there was that kind of moment where you start doubting yourself and you start thinking, oh, how have I not made it to this point already? Like I have all this experience in the industry and I've been at it for a very long time, and yet I'm still feeling like I'm trying to get the first steps. And that was a little bit difficult to get to. And also it was kind of the I was at that point where I was going up and talking to publishers and stuff, and you kind of see it in their eyes, or the people on the stands when you go up and cold. Basically, you're doing cold calling, and I'll explain a little bit later. But you kind of see it where as soon as you sort of mention that you're an independent game designer, they think, "Oh God, this person wants something from me," and you'd see it drain from their face. They're not doing it intentionally. None of them are directly rude, but they kind of almost immediately lose interest in you, or you just get that vibe, right, where you feel like, oh, sorry, I'm not trying to be a burden here. I just generally wanted to start and have a conversation. But you can tell like their experience with it has been long for that weekend or over many years that they've been going to lots of conventions. Like they have their own goals and objectives, and you're a random person going up to talk to them. So this started to put a little bit of a negative spin on my mood and sort of how I was feeling at the event, but it was able to bounce back. I was with our creative director, April Cooley, who's been absolutely incredible throughout the whole process of Robot Raiders. The reason it looks as good as it does and all of our marketing and everything has been like really, really awesome, has been because of April. And April's very like grounded and down to earth. And that sort of helped me wheel around where it's like, it's okay. We definitely made the right call with what we want to do. And it's all going to be okay. Like just keep going. Don't panic. So I guess when I walked away from that event, it's important to say that I could sort of see the bigger picture and sort of have more of a plan. If I had to describe the last 2 years of UK Games Expo, the first year was understanding the project had legs. So doing demos, talking to people, realizing the concept was good, the playtesting was really strong, sort of getting used to the knowing the names of the manufacturers, the fulfillment companies. This year, I'd say I have a much stronger plan of like how I'm going to improve on the process for when we relaunch and how we're going to plan the game out and stuff like that. So I feel a lot stronger now after this year than I did the previous year. Although we were very confident last year and we did get the crowdfunding and we were in a very good spot, but I know the relaunch is going to go much, much better. So let's use this section here for how to network effectively. The first contact that you have with a publisher, it should not be, hey, can I have money, please? The first contact is you kind of want to get to know this person as a person, like what their job is, how they got into the industry, what their story is. You kind of want to build that human to human connection. You want to be polite and you don't want to be overselling. Like the very first contact with somebody shouldn't be trying to push something on them because that just always ends up with that kind of, oh God, not another one kind of feeling. So you really want to kind of like build and actually get to know people, ask them for advice and stuff like that. Like, oh, what would you say in this situation and that, and use it as a learning opportunity and sort of build that first connection as learning about the person and what they do and where connecting a little bit later might be beneficial. I would say that you would consider for the second contact, that could be a follow-up email, it could just be a thank you, just something short and meaningful, just as a reminder of like where you met them. And then from like maybe third contact, where you go to another convention or another show, book a meeting with that person if they're in attendance, or that company. And then you can sort of be a little bit more about the business talk. I wouldn't necessarily start heavy on that because it just turns people away from you. Just imagine if somebody was just coming up to you on the street saying, "Hey, I need some money." And then you're like, "Well, no, I don't know you. I don't know your situation. And outside of charity, I don't know why I would do this." Or they say, "Oh, you can trust me." And it's like, "Well, no, I can't. I don't know you." So think of it from that perspective. That is who you are to them when you approach them. So think about that and actually build the connections. The relationships do take time. And if you're only there to get something from somebody, they'll spot it. You've got to understand that the publishers or the designers or the people that have been at the game for a while, they know when they're dealing with somebody who's just trying to get something from them. So really think about how you interact with people as people. That's, I guess, kind of the weirdest part of networking, is that it's a long process. It's not just I met the right person at the right time and things are going to work out. Sure, there's some Cinderella stories where that happens, but you could very quickly sort of get known for being in a position where you're constantly trying to use people, and nobody likes that feeling. It feels desperate, and people can sense your panic. And being calm and confident about your overall goals, your objectives, and what you're going to be doing in order to get your game into launch will go a lot further than you coming across overselling. And it just, if you're like pitching like immediately as soon as you've met somebody without even having a conversation with them, it kind of ends up is this really, it feels desperate, and you don't want to be that person, because people, they'll remember it and then they won't necessarily even remember you, but they might be like, that's the kind of person I want to avoid at events. So do keep that in mind. It is a process and it's going to take time. I want to use this section to talk a little bit about things to look out for. I am going to expand on this in another video later on, but I figured it's just kind of a good thing to include here as part of the convention planning. Um, you need to look out for agencies that overpromise and underdeliver. I want to do a great quote from somebody who actually successfully crowdfunded this year. I'm very, very happy for them. They've been really, really good with their advice and feedback from me. In some ways, I would consider the founder of that a mentor of mine. They had a great quote. He said, "There's no shortage of people who will take your money off you." They're absolutely right. There are plenty of agencies that will offer to put you on their mailing list, where they'll say, "I've got 100,000 people on my mailing list and I'll advertise your game. It'll just cost you £200." Or they'll promise you X and Y on the services, or they'll say, "We'll get you a great deal on this particular shipping or freighting," or stuff like that. And then they doesn't necessarily play out. Or you realize that a lot of the work that they're doing for you, they're just using ChatGPT to write it. And what gives that away is all the emojis and the very long hyphens in the message. And you're like, you've just used ChatGPT to throw this at me. You haven't really delivered value. They're not invested in your success. They're invested in the money you're about to throw at this. And for a lot of people, myself included, I put my whole life savings into building Matorga Studios and building our first game, getting ready for launch, marketing. I really threw everything into the first try, and I'm now in the position where I'm getting ready to go for a relaunch and trying to scramble and find the resources so I can make sure I can bring that dream to life. But you've got to be so careful, because there are people that are not going to respect that. They see you as a cash cow. You are walking around about to take the biggest bet of your life, and they've all got their hand out and they're not going to offer anything for you. So that's like one group of people to consider. And I'll talk a little bit about how to find out who they are and avoid those people at conventions, or in general when you start getting randomly reached out to on Facebook or LinkedIn when people are offering a lot. Another thing to avoid are partners that seem way too eager and promise you the world. Too good to be true is just such a good reason, such a good statement. And it's kind of weird because you end up in this situation where you're hearing all the right things and you want to believe it because it will be so beneficial to you. But you could be your manufacturer, it could be your fulfillment partner, it could be a platform. If they're making big promises, like you really want to do your due diligence and see if those companies follow through on those things, or if they're just giving you a bunch of nice, kind words that just get you to sign on the dotted line. And again, you don't want to be handing money over to people when you've got very limited funds. You probably, if you're working on your first game and you like, maybe you have a budget of 5 grand to do everything, and you need to raise 10 grand to get your game out there. Like every dollar, pound, euro, or any other currency of choice that you spend is could have gone to something else. So every single dollar counts, and you've got to be really, really careful with, especially the smooth talkers that are just trying to get you to give them your money. Uh, so some red flags to look out for would be the pressure to sign quickly, um, or vague answers when you ask about costs, timelines, deliverables, or ask for examples of other clients that they've worked with that can show that they actually do get the results. If they're not willing to share that and they say that's protected by NDA or we can't talk about this or trust me, bro, those are probably not people you want to be doing business with. A great way to figure this out is to go and talk to the designers who have stands, the indies. Go ask them, what was your crowdfunding experience like? Like, how did you get from nothing to there? Like, which manufacturer did you use? Which ones were good? Like, what fulfillment company did you use? Is there anything I should be really aware of? Or like in calculations, what was like an unexpected expense that you had? And you'll start hearing for the good companies or the good manufacturers, for example, like Panda Manufacturing, their names are going to come up from more than one person. You're going to start hearing the same people over and over. You also get feedback on who to avoid. They'll tell you we have horror stories with this company or that company. And you shouldn't be going out and publicly putting on your Twitter, naming and shaming these companies. That's just generally bad practice professionally. But you can remember and use that information. Just because you've received it doesn't mean you can't use it. Just draw on the people's experience. They've remember all these people have spent a lot of money, so you can just take advantage of the work that they've already done by sort of understanding a little bit about the process and who they'd recommend you work with. This video is now getting a little bit long, so let's wrap it up here. So uh, to give you like a brief list for the recap, just plan ahead, build genuine relationships, stay calm, and do your research. Don't take anybody at their word. Talk to people who have gone through the process and learn. Your goal isn't to win at the con, it is to start building the right path for your project. If you walk away from the con and you now know what you need to do next, or what your next 5 or 6 steps are, or who you want to investigate further and research, that is a success. The fact that you didn't get somebody to sign your game, or you didn't get exactly a $1 million contract, that is fine. The point is that when you leave the con, that you're more informed than when you went. So that's everything we're going to be covering here today. I would really love for anybody who is more experienced in the industry to go ahead and shoot comments down below for any tips or advice you get for people that are perhaps attending their first convention, or maybe it's their third convention and they're just getting ready to launch their crowdfunding campaigns. Um, in the next video, we'll cover some more stuff pertaining to how to get from concept to delivery. I'll figure out which topics keep coming up for people that message me or questions, and then we'll put something together. If there's topics that you'd love to talk about, by all means, shoot comments down below and remember to subscribe so you can see more of these videos as and when I publish them. But for now, really looking forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Cheers.